Hey, Jason here. Today's episode, I'm going to tell you what unlevered return on net tangible equity is. Before I get to that, though, I need to let you know you can get this series as a podcast on all major podcasting platforms, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, Anchor, and more. You get this as part of the I Love Value Investing podcast anywhere in the world for free. And also, if you like this video or other videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell because we're releasing new videos all the time. Okay, so in the last several weeks, we've talked about return on invested capital, what it is, why it's important, how to calculate it, and advanced trading on how to calculate. Then we talked about return on capital employed and covered all those same things with the return on capital employed. Now we're going to talk about another one of Warren Buffett's favorite metrics is unlevered return on net tangible equity, which you see on the other screen here, which is what I'm looking to over here on my other screen. This is the value investing journey valuation and profitability metric template that you can get for free. Add a link below this in the description. You can get this as part of the 5 free gifts. You can get this template as part of those 5 free gifts that will help you become a better value investor faster. So, okay, let's go over here. Unlevered. Okay, so the last 2 definitions were relatively easy. I'm going to read parts of this, but it gets a little bit long. So I'm going to leave this up here for you to read it. I'm going to scan and read parts of it. If you want to know where this came from and where I learned this metric from, it's from, well, I quote this one is from the 1992 Berkshire shareholder letter. I don't know where this is from up here, but it's from one of the Berkshire Hathaway shareholder letters. This is where I learned this metric, and return on capital employed from was reading through all of those financial reports, or I guess letters in that case, and parsing through the information. And turns out that he loves return on capital employed and unlevered return on net tangible equity. So unlevered return on net tangible equity. I'm going to mess up saying that because it's a mouthful, so I apologize for that in advance. Is what a business can be expected to earn on unleveraged net tangible assets, excluding any charges against earnings for amortization of goodwill. It's the best guide to the economic attractiveness of the operation. It is also the best guide to the current value of the operation's economic goodwill, which I will not get into because that's a whole another subject. And thus our first lesson. Businesses are logically worth far more than net tangible assets when, my emphasis, when they can be expected to produce earnings on such assets considerably in excess of market rates of return. Capitalized value of this excess return is economic goodwill. And then from the 1992 shareholder letter, leaving this question of price aside, the best businesses to own is one that over an extended period can employ large amounts of incremental capital at very high rates of return. So what the hell does all that mean? That's why I wrote this down here. We'll get to the calculation next week, so I'll scroll back up, or in a couple weeks, sorry. But I want to focus on here because if I look at that, I'm going to get distracted. In other words, unlevered return on net tangible equity means, or the above means, that companies having high unleveraged returns on net tangible equity should be worth far more than normal businesses. So unlevered return on net tangible equity helps you essentially figure out how profitable a company is based on its use of assets to generate revenue and profits and cash flow. How well it uses those assets to generate more assets, essentially cash flow and profits. The higher rates of return a company earns on this, the higher the valuation on the company should be. This is important, is because this is very similar to ROIC and ROCE, especially when we get to the calculation, which we'll get to in a couple of weeks. At the end of this series, so this video, in about 4 more videos, I'm going to explain what the differences are between ROCE, ROIC, and unlevered return on net tangible equity. Essentially, they measure the same thing. How well a company or how profitable is a company is based on the use of its assets and capital. The calculations are slightly different, which makes them measure slightly different things. And the nuances are important, but they're very small and very hard to notice. Almost every student I've ever had asks me the question, why do you use all three of these? And why do you measure all of these if they're so similar? Which, again, we'll talk about in the last video in this series. I'll explain what the differences are and why they're important. But essentially what this means is it's very similar to ROIC, ROCE. But this is a further explanation here from Buffett himself in his shareholder letters, that the higher returns a company earns on all of these metrics, that's how I use it. I don't know if he uses it that way, but he's talking about specifically unlevered return on net tangible equity here. But a higher return a company gets on all of these metrics, the higher its value will go over time. Why? Because companies are, over the long term, valued on their profits and cash flows that they produce, and the higher their profits and cash flows as a percentage of their revenues, which is essentially what ROIC, ROCE, and unlevered return on net tangible equity measure, the higher their value goes. The inverse of this is also true. The lower these returns are, and they can go negative, the lower these returns are over long periods of time, the lower the value of the stock will go, or the company will go as well. So I'm going to explain in next week's video why it's important. Actually, I just did that, so we'll skip that video next week, and then we'll get right to the calculation next week. Should have waited on that. So a little bonus here. We'll skip that and get to the actual calculation next week instead. But this is what unlevered return on net tangible equity is and why it's so important. In next week's video, again, I'm having to catch myself. In next week's video now, I'll show you how to calculate it in a regular way. And in the video after that, I'm going to show you how to calculate an advanced way. And then I'm going to explain the differences between all three of these and why I still calculate all three of these, even though they're very similar. So I hope this helped. Hope you learned a ton from this video. If I didn't explain something well enough, if I should have explained something better, if I missed something, let me know in the comments below. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like, love, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Hit the notification bell so you're notified every time we release a new video, and we're releasing new videos all the time. If you're listening on the podcast, like, love, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. We really also appreciate a review, because the more reviews, views, and listens we get to our content, the more people we can help. If you want this template, and I'm pointing to my other screen because it's on my other screen. If you want this 21-page doc, my valuation and profitability metric templates, as what you can get it as part of our 5 free gifts. You'll get 5 gifts, including this, as just downloading it for free. You can also get our 7 tips guide and 3 times you must sell stocks after you bought guide for free as well. And you can also get a free PDF copy of my book, How to Value Invest, all below in the links below in the description. If you're looking to take your knowledge of investing and analysis and picking stocks to the next level faster with my help, and you like our content, there's also a link to our masterclass below this video as well. So make sure to take advantage of all that stuff. And until next time, I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day.